in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific caste system.
We shall go on to the end. We shall fight with growing confidence and growing strength in the air. We shall never surrender.
Good day, everybody. It's the 20th of June 2015. This is UCY.tv with the Solvinur Event. I'm your host, Solvinur. It's my call sign. And usually we discuss all kinds of topics like philosophy, mythology, things like that. And last week we got into the beginning of Chapter 6 of the Mahabharata. If you go to ucy.tv, you can find a chat link there. And if you go there, you will meet people like Eek a Mouse, Del, Dan, another Dan, Mr. Cypher. It's actually sounds like a Dutch word, cipher. We have the word cipher, which means number. Right, there's something about number in occult knowledge. Right. So the word Lucifer might also be a hint at lucid, right? Luke Skywalker, Lucifer, as in matches, which give off light, but also to number. Matty Kloos is there. How you doing, buddy? Otto von Bolshevik, Dog, Tomato, and two Anons. Welcome, everybody. Alright. This is not so handy of me. I should have done this beforehand, but I'll just pause it as soon as I can. Here we go. You should be able to call in. I'm not sure if Jules actually did forward the calls, but if she did, then you can actually call in at 718-717-8296. If that doesn't work, what will surely work is contacting me via Skype at Solvinur. That's SOLVINUR. Talking about you are, how are you guys? Yeah, it's a question I ask usually. If the answer is, well, I'm stressed out, or something like that. I've mentioned this once before, but I heard Alan Watt repeat it. And he's probably not the only one. But what you should do then is step out for a while. Don't listen to any news. Don't read anything. And try and create some silence. That's a tough one to find in our Western society. Because when you are surrounded by silence, you can actually look at what you're thinking about. And maybe ask questions, quote unquote, think for yourself. And so that's my advice to people that are stressed out, maybe bordering on burnout. All right. I've had that myself once, that I was like, I can't take this anymore. This is just too much information. And that's when I took like a 3-week vacation. Or maybe it was even longer, because I was like, playing games and stuff. And it helps. You crawl back up again. And you're able to revisit some of the things that you wanted to dive into. Because there's so many things that are researchable in this mad world we call reality. Right? There is not one field of activity that is not corrupted and used against you in the world today, and also in ancient times. And this goes, for as far as I can see anyway, it goes back prehistoric, which means even before man started to write things down. Alright, let me let my ciggy here. Do you all have something to drink? Like a cup of coffee or something? So, we should be getting into the Mahabharata, unless Tomato wants to try the phones and see if he can get on. 718-717-8296. Yes, thank you. So, this is your chance, Tomato. Yeah. We had a little talk on the chat room last day. Let's see, I should be able to pick this up right here, right? Yeah, I think so. If not, something will turn orange and I will be able to catch that. By the way, Jules, I have a question. Did you get the reservation for the free update to Windows 10? And if you did, how did you do that? Because they say you can get that via clicking on this Linux type window thingy, which brings you to apps, and there you should be able to make a reservation for the free update to Windows 10, but I just can't find that app. I don't know what it is. Oh, it's Father's Day. Oh, okay. Have fun, everybody that's on Father's Day. Fracking Nazi business. Yeah. It's Mother's Day and Father's Day. We were having a little talk about that at work. And the boss, well, he's not a boss, but small boss, let's put it that way. He said, well, this is kind of rubbish, like, why, my children even mentioned it. He said, oh, well, why do we only have Mom's Day and Dad's Day? Why not Children's Day? And he was like, yeah, well, we can do that, so they made it Child's Day. But why not an Aunt Day and a Nephew Day? And, you can keep on going like that. So this is basically from Nazi period, and I think we should get rid of it. It serves no purpose other than to get you to buy stuff, buy more useless crap that you don't need. Like Valentine's Day and all that, all that rubbish. Christmas, you name it. All right. Since I'm not getting any calls, we'll just get into the Mahabharata. This is section 16. And please forgive the sometimes too elaborate texts in here. Well, here we go. Seems like we did get a phone call. Let's see, did that work?
Good afternoon, Walter.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. I'm calling in to propose a Vinny Day. Can I get one all for me?
No, you can't.
Daggum, it just ain't right, I tell you. Well, I'll tell you what, I've been missing UCY a bunch. My computer went out, but the good news is I'm able to listen, and I've been all week on the TuneIn app on my phone.
Oh.
Through Wi-Fi. But
your computer is
just
down?
wanted to call in and say hi to everybody and say how much I really do miss being able to take part over there and putting on the post up for the shows for everybody. And believe it or not, even chat. Sometimes chat gets a little out of hand with comments now and then. But, yeah, missing everybody over there and wanted to say hi. I guess you read the list. I was trying to look up on my contacts and number. At the same time, it killed it, so I missed the part of that. But I can catch that on YouTube when it uploads.
All right.
I listened to you last week as well. We're talking on the what is that book from India, I guess, and kind of goes back with some Aryan roots and supposed claims by others of their supremacy and so forth.
Well, yeah, the biggest point to make there is that Aryans are brown people.
Yes, that's the irony of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
White's right, except for when it's brown.
Yeah, there's a lot of written stuff available from India, and they say, well, the Aryans, they were just such wonderful people, but I'm quite sure that that's put in there by the Aryans themselves who invaded India. So...
on my, when I did What Matters on my show page there, I kind of had a little kind of twisted in a little esoteric stuff with the Egyptian eye and the pyramid and so forth, and just kind of alluding to how everything kind of ties back to history and pretty much in a conspiratorial fashion of religion and politics and control of the people, and to be able to keep majority of people as servants, as no more than cattle, and that's the way the world operates. I think under close examination.
Yes.
So, all very important stuff. to look all through history, I think, and to try to make sense of everything and by tying it all together. And funny, you was talking about earlier, just before I called in, about the break, taking a break and stuff. And so, in my opinion, sometimes the universe will provide that for you. So, like I said, as much as I hate being gone, I still have connection to, through the phone and stuff. But it is good, I guess, in a way to, sometimes just take the flow right there. Like, well, I've got a lot of projects to be able to accomplish here, which I've been working on all week. And so, in a sense, sometimes you got to feed the body and nutrition and exercise and all that stuff as well as the mind. And a lot of times, I think maybe, for me, get caught up there and like you're saying, in such a deep investigation of what is and everything that
what ISIS is.
Leave off in other places in life.
Yeah, they don't took that name for nothing. ISIS, I doubt these rebels themselves call themselves ISIS. I doubt that.
Yeah, I was kind of using a play on words there with that as they do, and with their own acronyms, they like to use them all the time, right?
It's like Osama and Obama, I don't regard those as just coincidences.
Yeah, I'm calling the pretender in chief.
Yeah.
I think, no, he might use something else. Yeah. Anyway, that's basically what all politicians are, is just the puppets. Somebody got a, string attached somewhere and probably a hand up her butt, right?
All right, so no computer for you. How does it feel? Did you lose like a leg?
At first it was like, dang, but I'm pretty good about taking lessons in life and not letting them, be like crushing and stuff, and
Okay.
just let it, take another direction. So, like I said, it's good in a way. I think it'd be very good to take the summer and work through a bunch of stuff here, in the physical world, and be ready for winter come around, and then by fall or something, then think about getting another computer at that time. So
Okay.
I think it would be really beneficial. Of course, this is what by having a computer, you may not realize just when you reduce your technology down, which is still amazing. What you can get off a phone. There's still UCY there that I have got playing all day while I'm working out here. I got the external speakers plugged in and good sound, and that just leads me to really get a full grip and understanding of how important UCY is. It's such a great amount of information comes from here that if this is all you listen to, and which I have been, it's great. It really is. I commend Jules for all her work, for certain.
Yep, absolutely. Especially since there's no ads.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's one of the best things.
For sure. And look, we're talking around the world. You're from the other side of the world, nearly, from where I'm at.
Yep.
And I know we have listeners from many, many countries.
Yeah. Even from China, it seems.
I think you need to add an R in the end of that to speak it proper British or English. When you say China, put an R. If there's no R in a word, put an R in. If there's an R, take it out. So you'd actually pronounce that as China.
China. All right, buddy. Anything else?
No, I just want to call in and say hi to, tell everybody there in chat, say hi. I say hi and miss y'all, and we'll be listening.
All right, buddy. Take care.
Bud. All right. Bye-bye.
See you later. There we go. That was Vince. Always good to hear. Remove. There we go. Cancel that. All right, then. All right. So the phones are hooked up. 718 717 8296 if you want to call in and talk about whatever you like. Yeah. Even the so-called, and I don't mean that it's fake, but the church shooting, it's been all over the news. And I really think it's a non-topic. It's probably to do with creating more division. That senator that wanted his flag back, and gun grab. All this kind of political mumbo jumbo. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Matty. He's already gone, so. Alright. So if anyone else want to call in, 718-717-8296. At the top of the hour I have some new poker face for you guys. This is 27 minutes, or 28, so there should be a couple of songs in there we can play for the next few weeks. It's Poker Face plays live at Progressive Democomies. Something like that. I'll paste it in the chat room so you guys can Google that and see if you like it. It's always good to hear these people play, in my opinion anyway. Oh, blah, blah. Alright. Now, let's get into section 16 then, shall we? Let's see, can I get that orange thingy away? Oh. Alright. It says I missed a call, but I didn't miss that call because that was Vinny. So, should be okay. Hey, Lady Pitbull. Good to see you. There we go. Wendy in the house. Oh, that's true, Matty. Of course he can hear us. Matty says, hi, Vince. I'm thinking like, well, I can't say it because... But yeah, of course. Good call, says Matty. There you go. Sanjaya, that's the guy that's remote viewing the battlefield at the palace with King Dhritarashtra. He said, when the night had passed away, loud became the noise made by the kings. Alright, remember there's a lot of kingdoms in India at that point in time. All exclaiming, hooray, hooray, with the blare of conches. Those are things you pick up from the sea, you blow in them, you get sound. And the sound of drums that resembled leonine roars, with the neigh of steeds and the clatter of, what do we call them, not cars, but chariots, with the noise of, what's that? Obstreperous, something like that. Elephants and the shouts, clamping of armpits and cries of roaring combat ants. The din caused everywhere was very great. The large armies of the Kurus and the Pandavas, rising at sunrise, completed all their arrangements. Alright, so the Kurus is the name for Dhritarashtra's 100 sons, and the Pandavas are from the family of Pandu. That's where you get Pandavas. Pandu was king before Dhritarashtra became king, and those two were brothers, so this is a family war. Rising at sun, yeah, that I did that. Then when the sun, which is by the way here spelled with a capital S, rose, the fierce weapons of attack and defense and the coats of mail of both thy sons and the Pandavas, and the large and splendid armies of both sides became fully visible. Right, this is about where we left off last week. There, elephants and chariots adorned with gold looked resplendent like clouds mingled with lightning. The ranks of chariots, standing in profusion, looked like cities. And your father, stationed there, shone brilliantly. His father? Well, that's odd. I don't think he was there. What kind of father is he talking about here? Like I said last week, according to these mythologies, you have 7 mothers, Mother Earth being one of them. And you also have more than one father. Right, so I don't know which father he's talking about here, but probably not the biological father. Maybe he's talking about Krishna, who's also on the battlefield, who is everybody's father. Right? And thy father stationed there shone brilliantly. Yeah, that's what Krishna would do. Like the full moon. Well, that's strange, because moon is usually... Oh no, that's not so strange actually, that they say like the full moon. You see, the sentence goes, and thy father, which is like male, stationed there shone brilliantly like the full moon, but the moon is female. Hence you get the androgynous message. And the warriors, armed with bows and swords and scimitars and maces, javelins and lances, and bright weapons of diverse kinds, took up their positions in their respective ranks. And resplendent standards were seen, set up by thousands. So they were standardizing things back then also. Of diverse forms belonging to both ourselves and the foe. And made of gold and decked with gems and blazing like fire, those banners in thousands. Right? So there's thousands of banners which could reflect how many kings, heads of houses were there. I think you could call them emblems as well. There's another word. Sometimes in old houses you see there's a little thing on the house, like, I don't know what the word is again, but those banners in thousands endued with great effulgence, something like that, looked beautiful like heroic combat ants, cased in mail, gazed at those standards, longing for battle. And many foremost of men yeah, well, that would be that's because that's how they see you, Lady Pitbull. You're not even in a caste as far as they are concerned, so they treat you like beneath any caste. And many foremost of men, with eyes large as those of bulls, endued with quivers, and with hands cased in leathern fences, stood at the heads of their divisions, with their bright weapons upraised. and Suvala's son Sakuni and Salya, Jayadratha, and the two princes of Avanti named Vinda and Amuvinda, and the Kekia brothers, and Sudakshina, the ruler of Kamvojas. We did this last week. Alright, so I'll skip to where I think we were. Blah, blah, blah. The 11th great division of the Kauravas, well, they had 11. Right? There were 11 armies there of the King Dhritarashtra, and the Pandavas had 7 armies. Together that's 18, which is a 9, but also there's 18 chapters in the Bhagavad Gita, and supposedly it took 18 days, this battle. The 11th great division of the Kauravas, consisting of the Dhritarashtra troops, stood in advance of the whole army. There in the van of that division was Santanu's son. With his white head-gear, white umbrella and white mail, we beheld Bhishma of unfailing prowess look like the rising moon. His standard, bearing the device of Palmyra of gold himself, stationed on a chariot made of silver. Both the Kurus and the Pandavas beheld that hero looking like the moon, encircled by white clouds. Right? Moon is usually tied to the metal silver. The great bowmen amongst the Srinjayas, headed by, that's by the way New Age stuff, alchemy, moon, silver. The great bowmen amongst the Srinjayas, headed by Drishtadyumna, looked like little animals when they would behold a mighty yawning lawn. This is when they are looking at Bhishma. Indeed, all the combat ants, headed by Drishtadyumna, repeatedly trembled in fear. These, O king, were the 11 splendid divisions of the army. So also the 7 divisions belonging to the Pandavas were protected by foremost of men. Indeed, the 2 armies facing each other looked like 2 oceans at the end of the Yuga, agitated by fierce makaras, whatever that is, and abounding with huge crocodiles. Never, O king, did we see or hear 2 such armies encountering each other like these of the Kauravas. Alright, so you hear the word Yuga here. Looked like 2 oceans at the end of the Yuga. They were, according to some translations, there's other people that say different-wise. No, that's not a word, right? Different-wise. That claim different time frames to these yugas, alright? But probably from this translator, he's talking about the end of the 3rd Yuga and the beginning of the 4th Yuga, which takes 432,000 years, this Yuga. It's called the Kali Yuga. And the whole reason for bringing about this war was to kill the demons and to create a time of peace. War is peace, remember? For the normal people, let's just call it normal people. Because at the beginning of Kali Yuga, evil would prevail, right? evil himself is personified in the Vedas, and evil personified came up to the God Almighty, and he said, well, look, I gotta have a place in this material world. And he, was saying, oh, well, everybody has a chance to go, why not me? And so the God Almighty gave him 4 places in which he could go, and those are manifested also in this last age, Kali Yuga. Alright, that was section 16. Moving on to the next. Sanjaya said, just as the holy Krishna Dvaipana Vyasa had said. Right, so if this is the Vyasa, this is the writer of what we are reading, which is a complete incarnation of, quote-unquote, God Almighty. Just as the holy Krishna Dvaipayana Vyasa had said, in that very manner the kings of the earth, and by the way, earth here is again spelled with a capital E. It's more New Age links, Gaia worship. Mustered together came to the encounter. On that day on which the battle commenced, Soma approached the region of Pitris. Soma is the personified moon. The 7 large planets as they appeared in the firmament approached the region of Pitris, the 7 large planets as they appeared in the firmament. So what is Pitris? Right, there's a 1 there, so at 38. 1 it says, Nilakanta in a long note explains that Magha Vishagas, something like that, Somas cannot mean that Soma or the moon entered the constellation called Magha. So Soma, moon. He quotes numerous slokas scattered throughout the Mahabharata that throw light, directly or indirectly, on the question of the opening day of the battle, and shows that all these lead to a different conclusion. What is meant by the moon approaching the region of the Pitris is that those who fall in battle immediately ascend to heaven. Of course, they have first to go to the region of Pitris. Thence they have to go to the lunar region for obtaining celestial bodies. All this implies a little delay. Here, however, in the case of those that would fall on the field of Kurukshetra, Kurukshetra is the name of the battlefield, they would not have to incur even such a little delay. Chandramas or Soma approached the region of the Pitris so that the fallen warriors might have celestial bodies very soon, without in fact any necessity on their part to incur the delay of a journey to the lunar region prior to their ascension to heaven with resplendent bodies. Right? Approaching the region of the Pitris, the 7 large planets, as they appeared on the firmament, all looked like blazing fire. The sun, when he rose, seemed to be divided in twain. Besides, that luminary, as it appeared in the firmament, seemed to blaze forth in flames. Carnivorous jackals and crows, expecting dead bodies to feast upon, began to utter fierce cries from all directions that seemed to be ablaze. Yeah. Well, it's both nonsense, in my opinion, Lady Pitbull. Right, like I said last week, you should not take any of this stuff literally. Yes, then comment him on the chat for people that listen to YouTube or podcast. Lennon was part of that whole Hare Krishna movement, and so was George Harrison, who actually gave his fracking castle to this sect. And yes, what he's writing there is again correct. Hare Krishna is the popular name for the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. Right, you can easily link this Krishna consciousness. What you also will find is Christ consciousness. Those two are more or less the same. And then it says a new religious movement. Well, no, it's not new. Based in Hinduism, established in Americas in 1965. The Hare Krishna worship the Hindu god Krishna as the one supreme god. Well, that is correct. But it's not new. It's 500, so that's relatively new. But it's 500 years old. According to the Hare Krishnas themselves, there was an incarnation of Krishna that appeared about 500 years ago. And most of the time he was just chanting this Hare Krishna mantra, which you can hear them chant, thousands of times a day. And that is who they try to emulate. Right? So it's 500 years old. Alright, where were we? Every day the old grandsire of the Kurus and the son of Bharajaba, rising from bed in the morning with concentrated mind, said, "Victories to the sons of Pandu." While those chastisers of foes used at the same time, yet to fight for thy sake according to the pledge they had given. Thy father, Devavrata, fully conversant with every duty, summoning all the kings, said these words unto them. You Kshatriyas, this broad door is open for you to enter heaven. Go ye through it to the region of Sakra and Brahman. The rishis of olden times have showed you this eternal path. Honor yourselves by engaging in battle with attentive minds. Nabaga and Jajati and Mandrati and Nahatsu and Nigra were crowned with success and obtained the highest regions of bliss by feats like these. To die of disease at home is sin for a Kshatriya. The death he meets with in battle is his eternal duty. Thus addressed, O bull of Bharata's race, by Bhishma, the kings, looking beautiful in their excellent chariots, proceeded to the heads of their respective divisions. Lol, Otto. Now, the worst part about the Bhagavad Gita is its, I would say, evil morals. Right? The Bhagavad Gita is all about this war. There's 18 chapters there, and there's one chapter for every day. And Krishna is explaining to Arjuna that he should fight. Because Arjuna didn't want to fight. We'll get to that when we keep on reading this. And he's explaining to Arjuna, well, you have to kill these people. And they will go to heaven because you can't actually kill them. They're actually contradicting himself, right? Because he says, yes, they are more evil than a Hollywood movie, I would say, Otto. Because they claim, well, you can't kill. Because they claim the life force within a body cannot be killed. That's their mystical claim. Mystical because there's no way you can verify it with your senses. Because, they claim, your soul is made of a totally different energy. And it cannot be killed. Right? So their claim is you can't kill. Which gives you no scrupulous for killing people. Right? What could be less moral than or more evil than that? I wouldn't even be surprised if these so-called elite actually have this kind of philosophy. Though I doubt psychopaths would need that kind of philosophy because they don't care about bringing harm to other people anyway. I think if you would follow what Jesus said, that it's much more has much more of a morality than Krishna. Krishna was a monster. He was a war-happy monster, right? And it's his fault this whole war came about in the first place. All right, where were we? Only Vikartana's son Karna, with his friends and relatives, laid aside his weapons in battle for the sake of Bhishma. There's a whole story behind this also, not only about who Karna is, because he's actually a brother of the 5 Pandavas, but he doesn't know that. And Bhishma wouldn't allow him to fight. Why not? Because he's actually afraid that Karna would put him in shadows, you see. Without Karna there, thy sons and all the kings on thy side proceeded, making the 10 points of the horizon resound with their leonine roars, and their division shone brightly. Hello, Lotto. Blah blah. And their division shone brightly with white umbrellas, banners, standards, elephants, steeds, chariots, and foot soldiers. And the earth was agitated with the sounds of drums and cymbals and the clatter of chariots. And the mighty car warriors and the mighty charioteers, decked with their bracelets and armlets of gold and with their bows, looked resplendent like hills of fire. And with his large palmyra standard decked with 5 stars, Bhishma, the generalissimo of the Kuru army, looked like the resplendent sun himself. Alright, so first he looked like the moon, now he looks like the sun. Those mighty bowmen of royal birth that were on Dhritarashtra's side all took up their positions, as Santanu's son ordered. King Saivya of the country of the Govasanas accompanied by all the monarchs, went out on a princely elephant worthy of royal use and graced with a banner on its back. Nothing more than Star Wars become religion, Otto says. Yeah, I think that's a good comparison. And Ashwatthama, of the complexion of the lotus, went out ready for every emergency, stationing himself at the very head of all the divisions, with his standard bearing the device of the lion's tail. And Shrutayadu and Chitrasena and Purumitra and Vivinsati, more of those names incoming, and Salya and Burishvaras and the chariot warrior Vikarna, these 7 mighty bowmen on their chariots, and cased an excellent mail, followed Drona's son behind, but in advance of Bhishma. The tall standards of these warriors, made of gold, beautifully set up for adorning their excellent chariots, looked highly resplendent. Yeah. The standard of Drona, the foremost of preceptors, bore a device of golden altar decked with a water pot in the figure of a bow. The standard of Duryodhana, guiding many hundreds of thousands of divisions, bore the device of an elephant worked in gems. Paurava and the ruler of Kalingas and Salya, these Rathas, took up their positions in Duryodhana's van. On a costly chariot with his standard bearing the device of a bull and guiding the very van of his division, the ruler of the Magadhas marched against the foe. That large force of the Easterners, looking like the fleecy clouds of autumn, was protected by the chief of the Angas, which are Karna's son, Vrishaketu, and Kripu, endued with great energy, stationing himself in the van of his division with his beautiful standard of silver, bearing the device of the boar. The famous Jayadratha looked highly resplendent. Right? Even today we get that kind of stuff, right? USA Eagle, USSR Boar, USSR tells you what kind of time frame I'm from. 100,000 chariots, 8,000 elephants, and 60,000 cavalry were under his command. Commanded by the royal chief of the Sindhus, that large division occupying the very van of the army and abounding with untold cars, elephants and steeds, looked magnificent. With 60,000 chariots and 10,000 elephants, the ruler of the Kalingas, accompanied by Ketumat, went out. His huge elephants, looking like hills and adorned with yantras, lances, quivers and standards, looked exceedingly beautiful, and the ruler of the Kalingas, with his tall standard effulgent as fire, with his white umbrella and golden kuras and chamaras, shone brilliantly. Well, and Ketumat also, riding on an elephant with a highly excellent and beautiful hook, was stationed in the battle. O king, like the sun in the midst of black clouds, and King Bhagadatta, blazing with energy and riding on that elephant of his, went out like the wielder of the thunder, and the two princes of Avanti named Vinda and Anuvinda, who were regarded as equal to Bhagadatta, followed Ketumat, riding on the necks of their elephants. And, arrayed by Drona and the royal son of Santanu, and Drona's son, and Vilhika and Kripa, and the Vyuha, this is a Kaurava, consisting of many divisions of chariots, was such that the elephants formed its body, the kings its head, and the steeds its wings, with face towards all sides. That fierce Via seemed to smile and ready to spring upon the foe. Right? That was section 17. There's a lot of footnotes here. I only read you the first one. If you want to know about the footnotes, I'll drop the link in the chat so you can check it out for yourself. Next section is 18. Sanjaya said, "Soon after, O king, a loud uproar causing the heart to tremble was heard, made by the combat ants ready for the fight. Indeed, with the sound of conches and drums, the grunts of elephants, and the clatter of chariots, the earth seemed to rend in twain. And soon the welkin of the whole earth was filled with the neigh of chargers and the shouts of combat ants. O irresistible one, the troops of thy sons and the Pandavas both trembled when they encountered each other. There, on the field of battle, elephants and cars decked in gold looked beautiful like clouds decked with lightning, and standards of diverse forms belonging to the combat ants on thy side, and adorned with golden rings, looked resplendent like fire. And those standards of thy side and theirs resembled, O Bharata, the banners of Indra in his celestial mansions." Bharata. Is that the name of Dhritarashtra? I don't understand. Thought he was before Dhritarashtra, this Bharata. Anyway. And the heroic warriors, all accoutred, something like that, I've never seen that word, encased in golden coats of mail, endued with the effulgence of the blazing sun, themselves looked like blazing fire or the sun. All the foremost warriors amongst the Kurus, with excellent bows and weapons upraised, with leathern fences on their hands, and with standards, those mighty bowmen of eyes large as those of bulls, all placed themselves at the heads of their respective divisions. And these, amongst thy sons, O king, protected Bhishna from behind. Dusasana, second most important figure on the side of King Dhritarashtra's sons, and Durvishaha and Durmukha and Dusaha and Vivin Sati and Chitrasena and that mighty chariot warrior Vikarna. Alright guys, it's top of the hour. Time for a little break. So I'm gonna let you guys listen to some of Poker Face's music. Alright, clickety click. Here we go.
So we're going to play a half hour for you folks, give you all this freedom-minded America First, rights first movement stuff that we've been doing for about 10 years. Big concern in our vocabulary is the bogus war on drugs. It's more like the war on some drugs. Only the ones that you and I can't grow or make in our kitchen. Seriously, if we're not paying the tax man, they're coming to get you. This first song's called I Want to Get High. When I sit on this mountain, high above the plain, when I fly high like an eagle, I soar the valley below, and I cry out for my freedom, and I pray to God. I like to get high in the middle of the day and the end of the week. I get high. And I sit at the season, and I watch the waves crash on in, and I drive mile after mile across this great USA.
so much. This next song is called Just an Excuse.
Pokerface! Check them out, guys. Pokerface.com. This is the second hour of the Solvinur Event. If you like, you can call in 718-717-8296. That's 718-717-8296. If you go to ucy.tv, there is a link there that will take you to a page which has a chat room. There's already some people there. Who did I miss? The first hour, Anon 37, welcome. Captain Gringo has also come. Lady Pitbull wasn't there at the start. Just naming the guys and girls that weren't there. And you all get a shout out at the end of the hour. Victory Through Veg is also there. And Popalupa, I think that's Liza, is that correct? Anyway, welcome everybody. Let's get back into where we were. This is a recounting of the war that took place either 5,000 or 7,000 years ago. Yeah, they just can't get to seem to agree with each other on these dates. And amongst them were Satyavrata and the Purmitra and Jaya. We're going to get a whole lot of names, guys. And Bhurisvaras and Sala and 20,000 car warriors followed them. The Abhishasas, the Surasenas, the Sivis, the Vasatis, the Svalyas, the Matsyas, the Amvashtas, the Trigartas, the Kayas, the Sauviras, the Kitavas, and the dwellers of the eastern, western, and northern countries. These 12 brave races, 12 races, were resolved to fight reckless of their lives. What kind of sentence is that? Were resolved to fight reckless of their lives? I don't know, maybe it's a typo or... And these protected the grandsire with a multitudinous array of chariots. And with a division that consisted of 10,000 active elephants, the king of Magadha followed that large chariot division. I don't know why they keep calling it car. You know, it's not like it has a four-tact engine in it. They that protected the wheels of the chariots and they that protected the elephants numbered full. Ha! Well, guess how many? 6 millions. And the foot soldiers that marched in advance of the armies, armed with bows, swords, and shields, numbered many hundreds of thousands. And they fought also using their nails and bearded darts. And the 10 and 1 Ashkawinis, sort of like divisions, of thy son looked like Ganga separated from Yamuna. Those are two rivers. Which brings us to the next section, section 19. Now Dhritarashtra is going to say something. Hold on, let me light my cigarette here. Dhritarashtra said, "Beholding our 10 Auskuinis arrayed in order of battle, how did Yudhishthira, the son of Pandu, make his counter-array with his forces smaller in number? How did Kunti's son, O Sanjaya, form his counter-array against that Bhishma who was acquainted with all kinds of arrays? Human, celestial, Gandharva, and Asura." Alright, so human, well, that's kind of a known term, right? Celestial, I have no clue what kind of race that is supposed to be. But Gandharva are elves, if I remember correct from the teachings that I had. Asuras are demons. Alright. Sanjaya said, seeing the Dhritarashtra divisions arrayed in order of battle, Pandu's son of virtuous soul, King Yudhishthira the just, addressed Dhananjaya, saying, "Men are informed from the words of that great rishi Vrihaspati that the few must be made to fight by condensing them, while the many may be extended according to pleasure. In encounters of the few with the many, the array to be formed should be the needle-mouthed one. Our troops compared with the enemies are few. Keeping in view this precept of the great Rishi, array our troops of son of Pandu." Hearing this, that the son of Pandu answered the king Yudhishthira the just, saying, "That immovable array, known by the name of Vajra, which was designed by the wielder of the thunderbolt," wielder of the thunderbolt, Norse mythology. "That invincible array is the one that I will make for thee, O best of kings. He who is like the bursting tempest, he who is incapable of being born in battle by the foe," like born, I don't know what that is, burned or something, B-O-R-N-E, "that Bhima, the foremost of smiters, will fight at our head. That foremost of men, conversant with all the appliances of battle, becoming our leader, will fight in the van, crushing the enemy of the foe." Crushing the enemy of the enemy? Oh, I'm reading that wrong. Crushing the energy of the foe. "That foremost of smiters, Bhima, beholding whom all the hostile warriors headed by Duryodhana will retreat in panic like smaller animals beholding the lion, all of us, our fears dispelled, will seek his shelter as if he were a wall, like the celestials seeking the shelter of Indra. The man breathes not in the world who would bear to cast his eyes upon that bull among men. Vrikodara, of fierce deeds, when he is angry. Having said this, Dhananjaya, of mighty arms, did as he said. And Palguni, quickly disposing his troops in battle array, proceeded against the foe. And the mighty army of the Pandavas, beholding the Kuru army move, looked like the full, immovable, and quickly rolling current of the Ganga. And Bhimasena and Drishtadyumna, endued with great energy, and Nakula, that's one of the 5 brothers, and Sahadeva, another one, and the king Drishtaketu became the leaders of that force. And And King Virata, surrounded by an Ashkavini of troops and accompanied by his brothers and sons, marched in their rear, protecting them from behind. The two sons of Madri, both endued with great effulgence, became the protectors of Bhishma's wheels, with the 5 sons of Draupadi and the son of Subhadra all endued with great activity. Right? These 5 sons of Draupadi play the most important role in this battle, because it is those 5 brothers that lay claim to a land which is rightfully belonging to Duryodhana, who is the son of the ruling blind king. Right? And this Duryodhana wouldn't give a piece of land that you could put a pin on. Right? And so these brothers decided that they were going to take it by force. Right? And you know, all of this Mahabharata will try to tell you that it's Duryodhana who's the bad guy, right? Well, I'm just, you know, trying to bring a little balance here by stating the obvious, that it's he who is defending his rightfully owned land. And that mighty chariot warrior Dhristadyumna, the prince of Panchala, with those bravest of combat ants and the foremost of chariot warriors, the Prabhadrakas, protected those princes from behind. And behind him was Shikandin, who in his turn was protected by Arjuna, who, O bull of Bharata's race, advanced with concentrated attention for the destruction of Bhishma. Behind Arjuna was Yudhana of mighty strength, and the 2 princes of Panchala, Yudamanyu and Uttamaujas, became protectors of Arjuna's wheels. Along with the Kekaya brothers and Drishtaketu and Chekitana of great valor, this Bhishmasena, wielding his mace made of the hardest metal and moving on the field of battle with fierce speed, can dry up the very ocean, and there also stay with their counselors looking on him. O king, the children of Dhritarashtra, even this, O monarch, was what Vibhatsu said, pointing out the mighty Bhishasena to Yudhishthira, and while Partha was saying so, all the troops worshipped him on the field of battle with gratulatory words. King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, took up his position in the center of his army, surrounded by huge and furious elephants resembling moving hills. The high-souled Yanasena, the king of the Panchalas, endued with great prowess, stationed himself behind Virata, with an Akshauhini of troops for the sake of the Pandavas. And on the cars of those kings were tall standards bearing diverse devices, decked with excellent ornaments of gold and endued with the effulgence of the sun and the moon, causing those kings to move and make space for them. That mighty chariot warrior Drishtadyumna, accompanied by his brothers and sons, protected Yudhishthira from behind. Transcending the huge standards on all the cars on thy side and that of the enemy was the one gigantic ape of Arjuna's car. Alright. Let's see, I'm trying to dig in my memory at the moment. I'm not sure, but I think that it was Hanuman, the last speaking ape, who was friends with Arjuna, and decided to back him in times of war. I could be wrong about this though, memory is a bit vague on this point. But since they were talking about gigantic ape, that's the emblem he was carrying, right? That was Hanuman. Foot soldiers, by many hundreds of thousands and armed with swords, spears and scimitars, proceeded ahead for protecting Bhimasena, and 10,000 elephants with dews trickling down their cheek and mouth and resembling showering clouds, endued with great courage, blazing with golden armor, huge hills, costly and emitting the fragrance of lotuses, followed the king behind like moving mountains. And the high-souled and invincible Bhimasena, whirling his fierce mace that resembled a pariga, there's a 3 there, let's see what it says, pariga. The Bombay text here is faulty, apparently. Well, Darse's Faham Valam is scarcely correct. The Bengal reading is Darsayan Sama Valam, something like that, whatever. You know, it doesn't make us any wiser. Anyway, this mace seemed to crush the large army of thy son. He's talking to Dhritarashtra. Incapable of being looked at like the sun himself, and scorching as it were the hostile army like fire, none of the combat ants could bear to even look at him from any neat point. And this array, fearless and having its face turned towards all sides, called Vajra, having bows for its lightning sign, and extremely fierce, was protected by the wielder of Gandiva. Gandiva is Shiva's bow, who's in the hands of Arjuna. Disposing their troops and this counter-array against the army, the Pandavas waited for battle, and protected by the Pandavas, that array became invincible in the world of men. And as both armies stood at dawn of day waiting for sunrise, a wind began to blow with drops of water. That's like rain. And although there were no clouds, the roll of thunder was heard, and dry winds began to blow all around, bearing a shower of pointed pebbles along the ground. And as thick dust arose, covering the world with darkness, and large meteors began to fall eastwards, O bull of Bharata's race, and striking against the rising sun, broke in fragments with loud noise. When the troops stood arrayed, the sun rose divested of splendor, and the earth trembled with a loud sound, and cracked in many places. O chief of the Bharatas, with loud noise. And the roll of thunder was heard frequently on all sides. So thick was the dust that arose that nothing could be seen, and the tall standards of the combat ants, furnished with strings of bells decked with golden ornaments, garlands of flowers, and rich drapery, graced with banners and resembling the sun in splendor, being suddenly shaken by the wind, gave loud jingling noise like that of a forest of palmyra trees when moved by the wind. It was thus that those tigers among men, the sons of Pandu, even taking delight in battle, stood having disposed their troops in counter-array against the army of thy son, and sucking as it were the marrow of, O bull of Bharata's race, of our warriors, and casting their eyes on Bhimasena stationed at their head, mace in hand. Right, that's the end of that section. Which brings us to section 20. Hold on, guys. Take a drink here. Coffee. So, Dhritarashtra said, when the sun rose, O Sanjaya, of my army led by Bhishma and the Pandavas, army led by Bhima, which first cheerfully approached the other, desirous of fight, to which side were the sun, the moon, and the wind hostile, and against whom did the beasts of prey utter inauspicious sounds? Who were those young men, the complexions of whose faces were cheerful? Tell me about all these truly and duly. Sanjaya said, both armies, when arrayed, were equally joyful. Both armies looked equally beautiful, assuming the aspect of blossoming woods, and both armies were full of elements, chariots and horses. Both armies were vast and terrible in aspect, and so also none of them could bear the other. Both of them were arrayed for conquering the very heavens, and both of them consisted of excellent persons. The Kauravas, belonging to the Dhritarashtra party, stood facing west, while the Parthas stood facing east, addressed for fight. The troops of the Kauravas looked like the army of the chief of the Danavas, while that of the Pandavas looked like the army of the Celestials. The wind began to blow from behind the Pandavas against the face of the Dhritarashtras, and the beasts of prey began to yell against the Dhritarashtras. The elephants belonging to thy sons could not bear the strong odor of the temporal juice emitted by the huge elephants of the Pandavas. And Duryodhana rode on an elephant of the complexion of a lotus, with rent temples, graced with a golden kaksha on its back, and cased in an armor of steel network. And he was in the very center of the Kurus, and was adored by eulogists and bards. And a white umbrella of lunar effulgence was held over his head, graced with golden chain. Him Sakuni, the ruler of Gandhara, followed with mountaineers of Gandhara placed all around. And the venerable Bhishma was at the head of all troops, with a white umbrella held over his head, armed with bow and sword, with a white headgear, with a white banner, and with white steeds. And altogether looking like a white mountain, in Bhishma's divisions were all the sons of Dhritarashtra, and also Sala, who was a countryman of the Valikas, and also those Kshatriyas called Amvashtas, and those called Sindhus, and those also that are called Sauviras, and the heroic dwellers of the country of the 5 rivers. On a golden chariot unto which were yoked red steeds, the high-souled Drona, bow in hand, with never failing heart, the preceptor of almost all the kings, remained behind all the troops, protecting them like Indra. And Saratvat's son, that fighter in the van, that high-souled and mighty bowman, called also Gautama, conversant with all modes of warfare, accompanied by the Sakas, the Kiratas, the Yavanas, and the Pallavas, took up his position in the northern point of the army. That large force, which was well protected by mighty car warriors of the Vrishni and the Bhoja races, as also by the warriors of Surashtra, well armed and well acquainted with the uses of weapons, and which was led by Kritavarman, proceeded towards the south of the army. 10,000 chariots of the Sanaspatakas, who were created for either the death or the fame of Arjuna, and who, accomplished in arms, intended to follow Arjuna at his heels, all went out, as also the brave Trigartas. In thy army, O Bharata, were 1,000 elephants of the foremost fighting powers. Unto each elephant was assigned a century of chariots, unto each chariot 100 horsemen, unto each horseman 10 bowmen, and unto each bowman 10 combat ants armed with sword and shield. Thus, O Bharata, were thy divisions arrayed by Bhishma. The generalissimo Bhishma, the son of Santanu, as each day dawned, sometimes disposed his troops in the human army, sometimes in the celestial, sometimes in the Gandharva, and sometimes in the Asura. Thronged with a large number of Maharathas and roaring like the very ocean, the Dhritarashtra army, arrayed by Bhishma, stood facing the west for battle. Illimitable as thy army was, O ruler of men, it looked terrible, but the army of the Pandavas, although it was not such in number, yet seemed to me to be very large and invincible, since Kesava and Arjuna were its leaders. This brings us to section 21. You guys have 27 minutes left to call in. 718-717-8296. If you want to call in, talk about anything you like. It doesn't have to be on topic. Sanjaya said, beholding the vast Dhritarashtra army ready for battle, King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, gave way to grief, seeing that impenetrable array formed by Bhishma and regarding it as really impenetrable. The king became pale and addressed Arjuna, saying, O mighty arm Dhananjaya, how shall we be able to fight in battle with these Dhritarashtras, who have the grandsire for their chief combat ant? Immovable and impenetrable is this array that has been designed, according to the rules laid down in the scriptures, by that grinder of foes, Bhishma, of transcendent glory. With our troops we have become doubtful of success, O grinder of foes. Welcome, you're on Solvinur Event.
Hey Walter, this is Otto von Bolschwing.
Hi Otto, how are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. Hey, listen, like your stories about or not the stories, but like you reading the Mahabharata and the Bhagavad Gita are really interesting to me as like a Reformed Catholic, because it's totally not about like shoeless Jews wandering about the desert crying and shit. You know, this is like science fiction. And I mean, if it's all pretend stories, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of like fairly interesting.
Yeah, this is the Mahabharata, which has a part in it that is known as the Bhagavad Gita. However, if you type in Bhagavad Gita into the Google, you will get a list of links that bring you to pages with verses. And these are not verses. This is more like a background story to all of that. Right?
Well, something that's interesting, like while you were doing the show, I was like looking for certain things, and like
yeah,
the internet search doesn't appear to be tailored towards that. And I wonder if that's just because it's a Google with a location thing or something, and they probably figure there's not a whole lot of people who read that kind of item in my area. So I don't know if like maybe the searches are kind of restricted, or if it's just that it's kind of like a Western-centric idea, and that's just so completely alien to people like in the United States, like sort of Christian culture that, I mean, there's almost nothing that crosses over, you know.
From this to Christianity, you mean?
Yeah, it doesn't seem that there's a whole lot in common between this and Christianity. And I'm not making any kind of judgment on it. I'm just saying that maybe this doesn't have like a lot of purchase in the United States because there's nothing for it for people to claim an experience with, you know. I mean, I find it to be fascinating. I'm not. What I'm saying is there like, all right, is there like a version of it like how the Bible is written in like 50 different vernaculars? Because, you know, I'm waiting for the text message Bible, but is there a way that this is brought into a vernacular that is easier for like almost a Cliff Notes version of it or something?
Yeah, I get what you mean. This is probably hard to understand for the Western mind, right? And I must admit that it's
just hard keeping the people's names straight. They are just like combinations of letters that Americans and Westerners are just not used to seeing.
Absolutely, yeah. However, I would say there are many ties between this Mahabharata, this ancient mythology from India, and Christianity. I mean, for instance, the Trinity that you have is the same Trinity that the Indians have. That's Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. That's the same Trinity. They regard that as one. So, you know, there are other links also, like with Krishna. Christ, Krishna. There's an etymological tie there.
Yeah, that's pretty close in spelling there.
Yeah, also, but also in their actions. You know, Krishna is supposed to be God. Well, there's a lot of people that think Jesus is God also, you know.
Well, this is pretty good stuff, man. I appreciate it. And I just kind of like, I don't give it, I'd like everybody to give it a chance. This is pretty neat stuff. I mean, if you got to believe in a fairy tale, I mean, this fairy tale is at least worth listening to. I mean, it's about like ancient spaceships. It's just old Star Wars.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that think like, for instance, when I say elephants, you've heard that word a lot of times now, right? They say, well, those aren't elephants, those are actually tanks.
Yeah, or big trucks or something.
Yeah, exactly. And they will claim that they also had planes, vimanas they were called, right? So they say, well, that was not clubs and bows and arrows. No, there was actually a lot of technology involved in this war. And I find it hard to believe, to be honest with you. But like I said, there are people that believe that. And there are a lot of people that take all of this very seriously. They take it as serious as a Christian would take the Bible serious. You know, it's the Word of God, you know.
Okay, now let me ask you, because you've got far more experience than with this than I do. And you live in a completely different part of the world than I do.
Yeah.
Here in the United States, we got a whole lot of like, you know, oh my God, that's a Muslim thing, blah, blah, blah. Because everybody's afraid that if you insult a Muslim or whatever they appear to take as an insult, they'll just, you know, like spontaneously explode or something. So, and forgive me if this sounds, you know, uneducated, but do the people of the Sikh faith, whatever faith that this is coming from, are they treated along those same lines? Is there like the same kind of fear of them that we would say like have of Muslims in the United States?
No, here.
Or are they just looked at as just like normal members of society?
Well, we should get a Brit to talk about this because they have a lot of Indian people coming to their country. Here in the Netherlands, it's not so much them. I would say, coming from my youth, that it's the Turks who have that kind of stigma hanging to their countrymen. You know, a lot of Dutch people don't like them because they refuse to speak our language. They refuse to pick up their garbage after they have a meeting on the street. You know, you can just tell where they have had a meeting because it's a fracking garbage.
Is it similar to that in their home country? Are they just bringing a home country practice to your land?
Yes.
Or are they just kind of just being shitty because they can be?
No, they're refusing to adapt.
They won't assimilate.
Yeah, they want us to be more like them, you know.
Okay, so that brings up an interesting point. Then, if that's what's going on, and there's these great big gaps in cultures, and we have the same issues in the United States.
Yeah.
We have to start looking at like who is allowing this to happen. And in the United States, we've got our two-party joke, with the Democrats or the Republicans, but it's always the same people every time. And I've seen something about immigration in Europe, and it's on YouTube by a woman named Barbara Lerner Specter. Have you ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
That might be kind of interesting for you to check out sometime if you can. I don't have a link to it or anything. I might go back and drop it in the chat room or something. But, yeah, I mean, can you almost blame people for being given the chance for free stuff in your neighborhood and with no sort of responsibility or anything? Do you blame them for acting like they do?
No, I usually don't blame the people. I could point to instances, I'm not sure if I get the right word here, collections of people like the CFR, and you have the same here in Europe. We have the European Council on Foreign Relations. Those are the people that decide who gets into politics because they will do the ECFR's bidding. And this has more to do with cultural destruction than giving poor people a chance to come to the rich Western country that we live in, right? So
that's a pretty interesting point right there, like cultural destruction.
Yeah.
All right, so we're at a point in the United States where everything is okay to demean. It's whether it's a person's morality, their religion, their upbringing, the portion of the country they live in, what their occupation is. Nothing is safe anymore except for a couple of things.
Mm-hmm.
There's only a couple of things that you can't make fun of.
Uh-huh.
And I know that there's laws like that in Germany. Are there laws like that for you in the Netherlands where it's satire if it's done on one side and it's perfectly legal, but if it's done on another side, it's a hate crime?
Ooh, look. I'm not sure if we actually have hate crime here on the books. However, we still have trouble saying the word Jew. If you say the word Jew in the street, you get all people looking at you and putting their hands on their heads like, oh my God, what did he say? So you can't attack them. It's not allowed to speak about them because the rest of the people will just, look at you strangely and think that you're a Nazi or something, right? But
and that's by far the absolute worst thing ever.
Yeah. I always say that there's something wrong if you can't say Jew, and people look strangely. It says more about the people that look strangely at you than the person saying Jew.
When there's mandated things you can't talk about, I mean, this is no different than any kind of other child psychology. I mean, if there's laws and legislation about talking against or speaking out on an issue, I think I want to find out everything I possibly can about that issue.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not maybe I'm mistaken, but I think it was here in the Netherlands or in Germany. Oh, it was in Germany. Yeah, now I remember. I saw this documentary of this old lady who was speaking out about the 6 million. And she said, well, why would we, here, that's in Germany, even have a law that would forbid you to ask questions about the historicity of these events, right? And she said, well, there can't have been 6 million Jews that were murdered. First of all, they weren't concentration camps, but they were work camps. And if you wanted the people to work in those camps, you can't kill them. You know, you can't have it both ways, right?
Yeah, farmers don't usually like kill their donkeys or whatever, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And she gave all of these good arguments that would throw in question the whole Holocaust idea. But that's punishable. And the interviewer was on a mainstream media. ARD is a highly respected German mainstream media television station. And this interviewer said, well, but this is punishable by law. And this old lady says, well, I've lived a good life, you know, let them come get me, you know. Yeah. But that's ridiculous, isn't it? If it even has to put into law that you can't question the Holocaust, you know, how bad is it? You know?
Well, if there's laws stating that you can't make any kind of questions about it,
yeah,
those laws are in place to hide some sort of factual inaccuracies and misremembrances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. And I also...
hey, man, listen, I want to say thank you. I find your show to be fascinating every week. It's like not a part of the world that I've ever really been exposed to. And thank you for what you're doing, and continue on with the Hindu Star Wars, man. This is some kind of cool stuff.
Okay, man. Thanks a lot for calling.
All right, thanks a lot, dude.
Take care, buddy. Yeah, that's... I also saw in... and I'd have to get Dell's opinion on this. Let's see if I can get this back. Dan's opinion, I mean. Alright, let's start this. Probably gonna need to scroll down a whole lot. This was on my Facebook, guys. Canola oil, but that's not what I was looking for. Here's one. A ring around the earth discovered. Natural protection. This is gonna take a while, guys, but I really think it's worth taking some time for this. Sorry about the scrolling down, because it's gonna take a while, but some people couldn't be nice even if a unicorn shoved a fairy wand up their ass while Judy Garland stood there singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow. Led Zeppelin, Battle Over Evermore, you know, Facebook. It's about everything, right? They were also talking about NASA, and am I on the right track here? I should scroll all the way down. There was this, it was this video of a, if it takes too long I'll get back to the text, but of Amsterdam in May 15th, 1940, which is the day that the Germans invaded the Netherlands. And you can see all of these military equipment driving into Amsterdam, and the people standing around it were not like scared or shouting boo, or, you know, they were actually giving these people gifts, They were giving the soldiers gifts. They were welcoming them into Amsterdam. But I can't see if these are actually Germans, because nowhere can I find a swastika. Nowhere do I see any emblem that I can recognize as being German. Alright, so I'll try and find it and put it in the chat room. If I don't find it quick, I will do it after the show. Link it there. Now, there's a lot about this, the Facebook here. There's also a lot of this Charleston shooter. Right? I really don't like it. So much media attention. Scroll. Never ask a woman who is eating ice cream straight from the carton how she's doing. Yeah. Ground Zero, Chococelli. Yeah, he was on Ground Zero, 6/17/2015. GroundZeroMedia.org. Chococelli was there. Yeah. Oh my God, where is it? If you see this, you will never eat French fries again. Blah blah. Technocracy is coming. Yeah, it was. That's what it looks like, indeed, guys. Technocracy, rule by experts, especially the ones that have no names. This one I didn't get from Ocelli. Chuck, I don't know if you're listening, probably not, but there is an open letter from you on the Facebook, but I don't get it. It doesn't seem to say anything. Oh, and if you have a Samsung S5 or S6, it has security failures, leaving 600 million Android users vulnerable to simple keyboard hack. Right, so that's not so nice. Blah blah. Alright, I'll get to this later and put that in the chat, because it's a nice little video of times long gone. Alright, I'll do that later. We'll get back to the text now. We only have like 8 minutes left or so. Where were we? Blah blah. I think we were here somewhere. The Rishi Narada knows, referring to this means the grandsire himself in days of old, on the occasion of the battle between the gods and the Asuras. Asuras are like demons, devils. Yeah. You hear that a lot. This also comes back in Diablo, by the way. It's another game I play. There's also the fight between angels and the demons spawning from hell, because Diablo, he opened the portals. Right? This is a metaphor for the battle within human beings, right? Do you do the bad thing, or the smart thing, right? Smart is sometimes bad. Or do you do the right thing, the good thing, right? The gods and the Asuras said unto Indra and the other celestials that they are desirous of victory, do not conquer by might and energy so much as by truth, compassion, righteousness and energy. They that are desirous of victory do not conquer. That's what I just said, right? They that are desirous of victory, and then, they're talking about your mind here, people. They that are desirous of victory do not conquer by might and energy so much as by truth, compassion, righteousness, and energy. And there's a 1 here. Okay, there's another, pointing to another doubtful translation. Discriminating then between righteousness and unrighteousness, and understanding what is meant by covetousness, and having recourse to extortion, fight without arrogance, for victory is there where righteousness is. This is about human nature, guys. It has nothing to do with the battlefield, right? For this now, O king, that to us victory is certain in this battle. Indeed, as Narada said, there is victory where Krishna is. Victory is inherent to Krishna. Indeed, it follows Madhava, and as victory is one of its attributes, so humility is another attribute. Govinda is possessed of energy that is infinite. Even in the midst of immeasurable foes, he is without pain. He is the most eternal of male beings, and their victory is where Krishna is. Even he, indestructible and of weapons incapable of being baffled, appearing as Hari in olden days, said in a loud voice unto the gods and the Asuras, who amongst you would be victorious? Even the conquered who said, with Krishna in the front we will conquer. And it was through Hari's grace that the 3 worlds, right, doesn't mean 3 material worlds, were obtained by the gods headed by Sakra. I do not therefore behold the slightest cause of sorrow in thee, thee that has the sovereign of the universe and the Lord himself of the celestials, for wishing victory for thyself. Which brings us to the next section, which we will get to next week, because it's 58. So, 8 Hawks, thanks a lot for coming by. Anouk nie a mouse, something like I translate to eek a mouse. Welcome, buddy. Anon 37, Captain Gringo, Del, Dan 10EC, Dan Cooper, Lady Pitbull, Lucifer, Matty Clues, Otto von Bolshevik, Pop Palupa, Road Dog, Tomato. Thanks, everybody. I'll be back next week, and we shall continue with reading. When we're done with this, which will take a long time, I think, we'll break apart the actual verses from the Bhagavad Gita. So thanks a lot, everybody. See you guys next week. Bye-bye.
I think a new world order is emerging.
An inside job? How dare you? How dare you?
To create, so to say, mass-produced models of human beings arranged in some kind of a scientific cast system.